Good afternoon, everybody. Uh, this was a technical topic when it was given to me by my team to moderate. As I was researching about it, I came across a website called the Regulation Exchange. Now, this website, measures uh, ESG standards across the world, tracks ESG guidelines, and between 2009 and 2019, the number of these guidelines reporting standards grew from 700 to 1700, the 10-year period between 2009 and 19. And this 1700 included 350 different ESG reporting standards, which tells the complexity and the lack of consensus when it comes to a standardized reporting framework for ESG across the globe. And around the world, simplification is the need of the hour, what everybody has been saying. Investors say that the proliferation of these standards hinders comparability of these standards. Environmentalists say this allows corporates to cherry pick their most flattering results, and corporate bosses most of the times are uh, of the opinion that we don't know what we should be disclosing. So, given this complexity, panelists, in your opening comments, first of all, of course, we'll talk about the Indian context, what SEBI has been doing with the business responsibility and sustainability reporting disclosures. But in your opening comments, I want to understand the importance of standardized ESG reporting, uh, and in your understanding, why has it been so difficult around the world, to achieve a consensus when it comes to a standardized framework? Sangeeta ji, if you would like to start.
Okay, so like you said, yes, a need for a standardized platform would definitely go a long way. However, I mean, so for instance, first, I think before I start, I must put on record that I'm transitioning. I've just left PVR, and I am currently leading my sustainability communication firm,
Okay.
as well as working with the supply chain, the MSME sector, to be able to up the ante on sustainability. Because
Okay.
with the BRSR and with the latest regulations, which require supply chain, large companies to involve supply chain, I see a good opportunity there for
Right.
being able to actually up the ante. So, having said that, I'll be able to give a perspective from both sides. So as far as standardization is concerned, yes, I mean, it's always a challenge for companies that are reporting, let's say, both on GRI and BRSR. However, I think SEBI has done a fairly good job, especially now. Of course, those of us who've been reporting since it was a BRR realize that we've come a long way from the document we used to prepare then, to now, where it's more accountable, where it's more, where there's lesser chances of being able to greenwash and just do a lot of storytelling. Having said that, the reason why there's been no standardized data, one platform that one can report on, is clearly because we're still in a stage of evolution. We are still, even Europe, for instance, which is way ahead of the other parts of the world as far as sustainability understanding and reporting and so on and so forth. We see most of the standards coming out of there. So yes, I think we need more consensus. We need more aligning to what is important and what needs to be reported. Having said that, I think I also see, especially in the current format of the BRSR, I see a lot of filtering happening, and I think it's kind of coming closer and aligning to what tomorrow's need might be. So, having said that, for the longest time we thought that GRI was it, and that's the format that we would sing, and then of course SFDR and SBTI and
Right.
so on and so forth. So yes, I think we are still in the mode of evolution, and it'll take a while to standardize. Unlike other functions which have been in existence for long, we're looking at an area that has just evolved in the last 10,
Right.
12 years. Yeah,
Right.
thank
Thank
you.
you, Sangeeta ji. Clearly, in the mode of evolution. Monica, your quick thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been almost 2 decades the GRI probably came into picture, and I'm into this field for last 16 years, and GRI remains as one of the master framework for guiding the company for reporting their sustainability parameters or framework. Now in this whole 20 years, they, like she very very rightly mentioned, that everybody is into evolutionary mode, and so is the Indian government. And SEBI surely came out with BRSR, and it's not just the BRSR which has come into picture. So if you see BRR, which came into probably 2012 or 2011, that also had certain elements of ESG. Then they got into this IR reporting, integrated reporting, there where they said that you have to report on 6 capital, and most of the direction is coming from the global frameworks. Now global framework, if you see, you cannot say even they are standardized.
Right.
And that happens probably when there is some event. For example, if today there is some human right kind of event which is coming into picture, then everybody would get over, oh, we have a very very bad reporting in human rights, companies are not reporting anything that what they are doing. So then there would be lot of focus, and then there would be in the framework they would add some indicator of more KPI parameter for human rights. So climate is one of the most well understood today. So that's why there has been the best reporting KPIs under climate. Now water is also there. So slowly it's getting into picture in the standardization. And today, if you see BRSR, that I would say still, I mean, though it's one of the best among all global reporting framework. However, if you actually get into, or if you, being a practitioner, if you actually work on it, many of the things are still not clear. If they say that you have to report 70, you have to engage 75% of your value chain partners, which may include customers as well as suppliers. Now they don't say that how would you calculate that 75%. So is it for that particular year? So FY24, if I'm reporting, so that would be completed in FY24 March or say December, and you would not have engaged, right? So that clarity is yet to come. Now value chain partners, up customer may, are you taking only the revenue thing, or how would you put it for the supplier? So customer and supplier. So those kind of nitty gritties and more clarification is required from the SEBI or from the regulator, and that comes into picture when you actually go into the reporting framework or reporting criteria. So those would be the challenges, and we would be talking about more.
Right. Definitely. And
Yeah.
we'll talk a bit more
Yes.
deeper about
Yeah.
the Indian
Thank you.
context as well. But Rahul, your quick thoughts
So
on it.
Arjun, to add to what just my other co-panelists said, I would say ESG reporting and as well as universal standards like GRI, TCFD or SASB, ma'am mentioned about, they have also evolved over the years. Your basic question was what was the need? So of course the need was that all of these frameworks provide some kind of a universal language which every investor analyst understands. They right now everyone is in need to go with the best choice. So for example, if I am the investor or I am the analyst or I am the customer, I really want to work with the responsible supplier. A responsible supplier is the one who is performing good on all the ESG metrics. So it's a comparability. It brings an uniform way of kind of reporting. That's a benefit. B, it also provides the inclusivity of all the set of stakeholders. I'm a big, adamant favor of the BRSR reporting in India, but yes, it somehow it provides the local context, but also gives a questions more from a government or regulatory perspective. Whereas this universal standard also allows you to include the perspective of your other stakeholders. It could be your customers, it could be your, I would say, media person or something like that. So from holistic perspective, universal standards, I would say they favor more. So these are the two additional points I thought to add.
Right. Rahul, I would like you to continue as well. Since you talked about BRSRS and everybody on the panel as well, and given the developments that we've seen in the last 12 months with, SEBI coming with timely amendments to it. And as you rightly mentioned, Monika mentioned that it's one of the stringest across the world, considering a developing status that India has. Uh, Tell us, how will it empower Indian corporates and the investor confidence, uh, you, to sort of give investors a confidence about corporates tackling ESG challenges. Uh, your thoughts on the reasonable assurance uh, um, aspect, and given these stringent regulations, the fund flow that you're expecting for these corporates, given now that investors will have some sort of confidence about these corporates tackling ESG risks?
So I would say that was a need of the hour, specifically for the Indian companies, because somewhere down the line, few years back, we all have kind of taken the universal standard as a greenwashing concept. We all were producing our sustainability reports, but we all were putting up the fancy pictures and the amount of CSR or the other work what we have been doing, rather depicting about what exactly was material for the company or the risk pertaining to the company. So keeping or putting up these kind of stringent questions in the BRSR, now every company has to respond to those specific questions, and over and above which you have to get a reasonable assurance. So this has allowed some kind of more transparency, I would say, on the table for the external stakeholder to understand the risk which that specific company has, and as well as it also brings some kind of, I would say, specifically in my company, sustainable green investment. I mean, we have recently inked a few MOUs and as well as loan agreement with certain banks, overseas banks, wherein we have said that this is going to be our GHG emission inventory, and we will get the reasonable assurance, as we have said in the BRSR. This is how the banks are going to track us. So it's just like kind of a home loan. If bank has given me the loan with certain rate of interest, if I meet my GHG inventory target, what I have said, I'm going to get lesser rate of interest. So
Right.
this is how the ESG reporting vis-a-vis BRSR has led to some kind of sustainability benefit or investment benefit for to us as a company as well.
Right. Thank you, Rahul.
Come again with the question.
Yeah.
Arjun.
So, how do you see the Indian regulation, boosting investor confidence in Indian corporates' ability to tackle ESG risks and the subsequent, fund flow that you're seeing given these changes and regulations?
So I wouldn't talk about not just from the perspective of investor,
Yeah.
but all the stakeholder. So though investor
Yeah.
would remain the key stakeholder, because BRSR came up with their requirements. However, it fulfills the requirement of other customers or other stakeholders as well. What he very rightly mentioned, that if you bring in the reasonable assurance into picture, so if I am reporting something today with say 90% level of confidence that my number is very correct, and investor is making, and like not just investor but everybody is making. So okay, so I'll take a step back, that why do we need actually ESG data reporting, and what purpose is it serving? Because somebody is making an a decision, or the informed decision basis my data, be it customer, be it investor, be it supplier. So if investor is thinking to invest in my company, and if he thinks that, for example, I represent Siemens sector, and I report that my carbon footprint of unit product is say 240 kg per ton per ton of cement, and whereas that investor has a picture of my peers that somebody is reporting. So just to make everybody know that today our emission intensity is lowest, not just in India but in the world, and that's not just 10%, it's almost 50%. So global average is around 580 kg per ton. Indian average is around 540 kg per ton, and we stand around 240 kg per ton. And that's why, And if you are performing very, very well, then you would be reporting with much more confidence that investor get the same level of confidence in investing your company. Now, if tomorrow my 240 becomes say 350 or 300 or 80, now whatever informed decision he might have taken, so I have that uh, big responsibility of my investor making investment in my company. So that confidence would only come if I get my data assured. And now that level of assurance, that could be limited, that could be reasonable. For people who might not be aware, reasonable level of assurance is a bit comprehensive and detailed in nature. So limited has little lesser level of audit kind of thing. So that's why BRSR came into picture, and they say that you have 20 indicators. Out of these 20 indicators, for these 10 indicators, which are the core indicators, you have to get these core indicators by reasonably assured.
Sure.
So that I can get your investors or other stakeholder that confidence level. So that would surely, I mean, that is very much required and very welcoming step from BRSR point
Right.
of view. So,
Right.
so
Thank you,
that's my
Monika.
thought. Yeah.
Sangeeta ji, your thoughts on the
Yeah, so this has actually happened. In the last year and a half, two foreign investors, European investors to be very specific, invested in PVR INOX. And like Rahul said, that earlier we in our sustainability reports we would gloss up what we were very good at and make that look even better. However, and we would gloss down what was not probably our area of strength. Having said that, while the difference that I saw was that while the Indian investors would have conversations around like what are you doing? Multiples is one of the investors, so what are you doing around DEI, etc., etc. And of course, PVR was doing a lot. In fact, I spearheaded the accessible cinema program, and so that took us seeing and showed us in very good light. But the direct question from the European investors is what are your net zero targets, and nobody had given attention to that. So for the longest time my struggle was but we don't manufacture anything. I said that doesn't matter. We consume a lot of electricity, we do a lot of air conditioning, we have a lot of backup power, we are using a lot of refrigeration, and so on and so forth. So we need to report all of that. So having said that, of course the seriousness of reporting and the seriousness and attention to valid data has definitely increased with the thing. So that's as far as the pull factor is concerned. Of course, once we start doing it, and I plan to continue working with them on this as a consultant. So once that happens, of course, I see the same investors getting more confidence in the company and being able to flow in more things because they see more sustainable value out of a particular company.
Right, very rightly put. The interesting thing about this panel is that you three represent a very different sector. Monika, you probably represent one of the hard to abate sectors, right? So when we're talking about this standardized reporting, how can we inculcate the sector-wise needs? I mean, surely your ESG needs will be different from Rahul's, and so if you could touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, see, whoever is company, I mean, whoever is working in their particular sector, they know very well that what are the indicators my stakeholders are looking for. So if a cement company does not report their CO2 footprint, that's a big no. Or I mean, anybody who is looking for their sustainability report of a cement company, first look at CO2. For anybody, I mean, because in the morning we had a presentation from Bisleri. Yeah. So if a beverage company does not report their water footprint, so it's a big no. Yeah. So that's why sector-wise reporting, everybody is aware that what KPI needs to be looked after. And it's not just the one material company. one material topic which has to be presented and which has to be reported, and that too in a balanced way. So if you have generated some kind of CO2 emission, you would also be talking about the CO2 avoidance which you have done on a positive impact. And that's why there is this principle in reporting as well, that all the report has to be neutral. But like they both said, that most of the companies report their most beautiful pictures and say fatality, एक मतलब वो तो fatality वाला अब important है ही, so everybody would report that. But sector wise reporting is important for investor, for other stakeholder as well, from the BRSR, because and maybe other how do I say that, this industry association. So most of the companies are part of their industry association. For example, steel company would be their a member of World Steel Association. We are a member of Global Cement and Concrete Association. Now all these associations have also their set of KPIs, which all of them need to report. So even if a company is not reporting their BRSR or GRI, they can go to their report and they can go to that particular set of KPIs. They will surely get to know that how particular company is performing on these KPI. Now there are few KPIs which would be common across sector. Yeah. For example, gender diversity. Gender diversity, if you see in service sector, that would be higher. In manufacturing sector, that would be lower. Now you cannot compare both of them, that a particular company has very, very less, 5% gender diversity is nothing. But for a cement company, 6%, 5% is still is very good, where you have the average of 3%. Right. So that comparison has to be seen very well in perspective of within your sector or across the sector, and which KPI you are looking after. Yeah.
Very rightly put,
Yes.
Monika. Thank you. Rahul, your quick thoughts on how do we accommodate these differences?
Correct. So one fit for all approach doesn't work. You cannot compare apple with oranges. My material issues would be different from her and from her, of course. Like I came from a sector where energy is a material issue, but not be as prevalent as manufacturing sector or a cement sector. So that's the first thing. Second thing, each and every standard, in fact BRSR, GRI, or whichsoever standard talks about, has a core backbone principle of materiality. So that is where each and every sector has its own material issues which they define depending upon the stakeholder inputs. In fact, nowadays we are hearing a term of dual materiality. So that is how the each and every kind of reporting framework is getting evolved, and it gives a endeavor to the companies and to the various sectors how they can manage these issues. Comparability, what she just talked about, you can compare it, but of course it has to be within the same sector. You cannot compare, as I said, oranges with apples.
Right. Thank you, Rahul. Sangeeta ji.
So for a cinema exhibition company, the S factor is the most important, because the number of people who walk into our cinemas on a daily basis, on a show basis, is huge. So health and safety aspects are paramount for a company like that. Having said that, and of course, which is why, like I said, most of our concentration was in that area, which is why we had a program that looked at actually making it possible for everyone, including people with disabilities, and we worked across locomotor, hearing and speech, and vision. In fact, and it just didn't mean our facilities, it ended up meaning regulation as well. So I've actively led work on changing policy, and we saw success in March 2024, where the final regulation actually came, which has mandated any film that is released in more than one language to come with audio description for the blind. So so basically, for us, it was the most important thing that we should not be, and hashtag cinema for all was the name of the program, is the name of the program, and it was all about being inclusive when it comes to delivering what we deliver best. So having said that, in order to make that possible, energy and water are and the waste generator are the next most material aspects. So that's exactly how. So it kind of goes hand in hand for PBR INOX, and one can't compromise on one or the other because it's a kind of composite materiality.
Right. I'm sure the audience here got a varied perspective of these three different sectors. My screen shows 4 minutes, and my last question to all of you, maybe a trick question because as a journalist, I'm finding that perfect headline. We talked about the stringentness of the SEBI's BRSR, right? Going forward, uh, in one or two lines, do you think it will stifle innovation or would the rather promote more sustainable practices? And from here on, what's the roadmap, the evolution that you're seeing when it comes to reporting standards in India? Sangeeta ji, if you would like to start.
I would say it's the other way around. I think it's going to facilitate innovation. Just now, in fact, while we speak, I'm talking to two different companies that are extremely good on data. Now, the biggest challenge that everybody faces is scope 3. And I know of this company that has now got acceptance from GRI to be able to scope 3 reports would report their own data, so their scope 1 and 2 will become my scope 3. And this is a self reporting module, and it works brilliantly, and now that GRI has also given its a green flag to it, I think it should work brilliantly. Similarly, I'm talking to another company which is AI based and helps companies reduce their consumption through various AI sensing tools and so on and so forth. So it is making people think in that direction, areas that we did not think about or dwell on. And I think we are seeing a whole lot of. In the earlier panel, they talked about the COP, these things, and how many of them came out of India. And we Indians do have strengths on innovation, and I think it's going to drive innovation than stifle it.
Thank you, Sangeeta ji. And of course, you mentioned the technology part as well. I think, right, Monica?
I think it will drive innovation as well as it will push for some authenticity as well, because for example, if I drink that beverage, after getting to know that just one can, although I don't drink myself, but after coming to know that 50 liters of water is required just for one can, I mean, that's a huge. I mean, I know that for one, so everybody is buying a smartphone every now and then. iPhone 16 एक साल में आ जाता है, सब लोग खरीद लेते हैं. But you know that for one smartphone, almost 12,000 liter of water is required. So whoever is very, very conscious enough, but iPhone is just one thing. But what we are drinking in every day, one T-shirt probably would be taking 500 liter of water. Yeah. So if those kind of numbers is coming to as a consumer, then that brings authenticity, not just maybe from consumer point of view, but also on the company. So there is this food farmer Revat. So अब उन्होंने इतना सारा बता दिया है that now all the Bonvita company and all those company probably will do something to put the right food label, so that my consumer become more aware. So along with innovation, I think that these kind of thing and awareness and consciousness will bring some more authenticity as well.
Right. Thank you, Monica. Rahul, your concluding thoughts?
I totally echo to what Monika just said. It's going to improve the authenticity. It's going to improve innovation. It's also going to improve the credibility and the transparency to the public, because you cannot go. As the data has to be assured, specifically if we are talking about in the BRSR context, you cannot lie anymore, right? We are also seeing it is going to get stringent. There is already in discussion that BRSR going forward by FY25 or FY26, they want you to put your suppliers' data and also to kind of start assuring on that maybe in the later years. So the neck is getting tightened up, I would feel, but that is going to improve all the points what we just mentioned, the innovation, the credibility, transparency, and this is going to evolve, I would say, further.
Thank you, Rahul, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. That's all the time we have. Thank you, audience. Can we please have a big round of applause for them?